Hello and welcome to SweetSpotDFS. This is a review for the 2020 Wyndham Championship, where Jim Herman is your winner. Yeah. Not words I thought I was going to be saying at the conclusion of this tournament, but Billy Horschel couldn't really close it out. Siwoo Kim ended up making some poor decisions. Enough happened where Jim Herman won this tournament. I mean, he flat out won it. No one really lost it, although you could say maybe Billy Horschel did, but for the most part, I mean, Jim Herman made a boatload of putts in order to win this tournament. And, I mean, yeah, he is the champion, so that is the world we live in, and we have to accept. Let's go ahead. Let's bring up the spreadsheet. I have the DK page up, but what I'm going to do is go over the results really quickly. So, as we can see, we have Jim Herman as your winner. 21 under. Everyone was kind of saying that 20 under or over was going to win. Sure enough, 21 under won. Billy Horschel finished 20 under, which obviously really close. He had a putt on hole 18 to, I mean, it was a really short putt considering it was a difficult and long par 4. Just, he even got a read too. Like, he had his playing partner actually putted before he did, almost on the same line. And they just basically had two different types of putts, two different breaking putts. So anyways, Billy Horschel missed that putt. But then you've got a couple guys at that tied for third who I was on. A lot of the DFS industry was on. Kevin Kisner, Webb Simpson, Doc Redman, Siwoo Kim. I really didn't play much Siwoo Kim, but still came out pretty decent after all things were considered. Zach Johnson made a huge climb thanks to his 61 on Saturday. Still played really well on Sunday. Harold Varner III was a Carolina guy. A lot of people were on him. Unfortunately, I was not, and it kind of stinks. Like, I can't believe I didn't play him that much. Didn't really think about the Carolina connection, but yeah, I mean, like, look at the top of the leaderboard. Everyone has a southeast connection. Now, Herman grew up in Cincinnati, but he lives in Florida now. So does Billy Horschel. Well, not the same as Billy Horschel, but Billy Horschel went to the University of Florida. He's also a southeastern guy. Kisner, southeastern guy. Simpson, he named his daughter after winning this tournament, so Wyndham. Doc Redman went to Clemson. ZJ, Zach Johnson, he's an Iowa guy, so not so much him, but Varner the third. I could probably find a couple more, but those are the only things I can think off the top of my head. But yeah, man, that connection was a big deal. So here's your top 20 basically leaderboard. I'm not gonna go much further into it, but I'm gonna go ahead and bring that 2020 DK page up that we talked about. And basically what I want to do is go over course history, go over recent form, talk about the grass stats, and then talk about the swing stats, and then wrap this video up. So let's go ahead and start at course history. Oh, I'm sorry. I typically do this differently, don't I? Let's go to the recent form tab. Now, what I typically do here is we will look at the whatever GPP that I won, or not won. I wish. The GPP that I played in, whatever the most expensive one was, and this was the $5 Drive the Green, I played in that one. Winning lineup was $49,900. I mean, that's the salary that they used. It consisted of Billy Horschel, Siwoo Kim, Kevin Kisner, Harold Varner III, Cameron Davis, and Harris English. So all these golfers that are highlighted in blue, that was your $5 winning lineup. Now, the optimal lineup, a little different, had to leave a lot of salary on the table, $3,200 to be exact, and that would have been Jim Herman, Billy Horschel, Siwoo Kim, Kevin Kisner, Doc Redman, and Denny McCarthy. So all the little ones with the little black ticks in the top right-hand corner. With Herman winning the tournament at 6,100, that really opens up so many different lineup constructions that you could have done to have beaten the $5 winning. So 685.5 was the winning lineup. The optimal had 759. So we basically have 70 points between the two lineups. You easily could have, substituted a lot of those guys. Now Herman with 152, 24 more points, 23 and a half more points than second place. That's pretty remarkable. Like, that's a huge number. You would have had to have had Jim Herman with any other combination of players to beat that $5 winning lineup. I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to go into what you can and can't do. You can obviously see the prices over here. You could construct your own lineup and figure it out that way. But it could have been beaten. It was a pretty weak showing for the first place finisher, mainly because no one really was playing Jim Herman. Go back to the 2020 DK page. He was owned in 0.1% of that tournament. So really no one was playing him. Funny enough, the sweet spot percentage number told me to play him in one lineup out of 100. I chose to play him in 0 because I can't stand Jim Herman. I can't play Jim Herman. And because of my biases, that kind of came and bit me in the butt. So poor on me, but so be it. Okay, let's now go and talk about what we were going to. So we'll go ahead and talk about course history. Nope, we're going left to right. I'm sorry. We kind of already talked about points and ownership. I'm not going to really talk about that. We're going to talk about tee time pairings right off the schneid, right off the gate. Now, you can look at this different ways, but what I see right away, so I go by this game number over here. Everything that's highlighted in green were golfers that I liked, and I liked their pairing. So right away, we can already see Sung Jae with Webb Simpson. And I did like Webb Simpson this week. I played him in 75% of my lineups. So that's what helped me win some money. But obviously, I didn't have the winner. I didn't have second place. I didn't play a lot of Billy Horschel. But you can already see Sung Jae, if you paired him up with Webb Simpson. Like, I mean, you could go here, Jim Herman. And then, so we have 23-9 left. Basically anything, 8. So we go here and here, and then we need someone who is 6,200. So I guess we can't really go here and here. Maybe we go Doc and ZJ. That's 50,000 on the button. So we could have done something like that. Obviously, that's one. But here's the main one. Like Jim Herman with Kevin Kisner. I even tweeted this out. Like, you could have played, if you liked Kevin Kisner, one of your lineups, you could have just been like, let me put a Jim Herman with him because they played together. So no doubt they probably helped each other out. And I guess if we open this up and look at their round 1, round 2 scoring, because that's what they would have played together, pretty good. Like, they were probably pushing each other to do better. Herman got the best of Kisner on round 1. Round 2, Kisner got the best of Herman. But like, that started, them going on the correct trend going forward. Just playing together like that. Now, Herman had a scorching hot weekend. He probably didn't play with Kisner. I'm not positive on that, but that's a total of 133. That's a total of 135. They probably didn't play together. But either way, started out together, played pretty decent. Now, okay, so there's that one. The next one I see is Siwoo Kim and Zach Johnson. I mean, right there, if you played these guys together, those pairings, that's 30,000. So your next 2 guys you can play at 10K and below. So like, you could add in a Webb Simpson and still have $8,800 left, which means like, okay, that's Sung Jae. So you could have, there you go. I was thinking about doing this, but obviously I didn't. So here are all your pairings together. Like, you could easily have done this. So you pair all those guys up together that are playing together, and you have a pretty phenomenal, I guess we should check out what their points would have been, right? Sung Jae, Zach, Simpson, Kisner, Herman, and Siwoo. 730.5. So you would have gotten first place doing that. But yeah, that's what I wanted to talk about with tee time pairings. Like, it was pretty decent, correlated decently. Shane Lowry with Patrick Reed. It was a decent one. Even Paul Casey kind of scooted up there. It's just, I find it to be a pretty decent advantage. So that's all I'm going to talk about with tee times. The rest of this, I mean, like, look at Jim Herman's odds. Like, that's pretty insane. 750 to 1. Hopefully someone out there won that money. That'd have been great. Official World Golf Ranking, not really going to talk about that, but you can obviously see it. So obviously, you know, if you want to keep this, screenshot it. It's there for you. Points per game, you know, I don't really talk much about that. I really don't talk much about value because I just don't see any correlation when it comes to those things. But now we come to the course history. And like Jim Herman, pretty decent course history, right? This is probably one finish that he has in here, but still, course history is pretty good. And when we look at the top 10 leaderboard here, like course history is a good number to go by. So all the dark red is top 20 for course history. The light green, I should say the dark green, not the light red. But then even the light green here, that's your 20 to 40 position. That would be, I mean, your top 40, if you count out how many golfers we have, ends up being, I mean, 9 golfers out of 11 or out of 12 inside the top 10 had good course history. So course history looks to be a big one. I would even say even recent form. That was one of the things I was looking at too. You have enough golfers here that have really good recent form. So kind of how I color coordinated this was dark green again is your top 20. Light green is 20 to 40. It's just kind of the colors of the stoplight. Yellow would be the next, orange would be the next, light red, and so forth. But yeah, recent form would be another big number. That would be, or it would be another stat that I would look at. As we continue going forward, I would say we want to look at grass stats. Overall, Bermuda, it was a big one. Like that is definitely a stat that I would consider going forward at this tournament. I mean, it was already a stat that I was kind of looking at already. Now, Jim Herman being the winner didn't have very good Bermuda, but he also isn't that great of a golfer. You know, like he doesn't have good Bermuda stats. But you know, you don't have to use any one of these stats completely all the way through. You can kind of mix and match. So obviously, like if we were to go with Bermuda stats, you know, with some of these golfers, we don't have to look at course history. But if we decide we don't care too much about Bermuda, then we choose course history. But yeah. He actually, although he has a bad Bermuda stat, like overall averaging finishing position, 7.84% inside the top 10 is not a bad number at all. Definitely worth a flyer for sure. One of the stats that I found to be, like for the 2019 tournament, that I found to be a really important stat would have been in 2019, I looked at that year's Bermuda stat as a very important stat. So I kind of tried doing that this year. I weighted this out quite a bit and thought that it was going to be a stat worth looking at. Obviously, it kind of wasn't. Jim Herman, you know, having 64 as his average finishing position in 2020 at Bermuda golf courses, not very good. Same with Siwoo Kim, 80.2. But he has won this tournament before. So looking at, you know, short-term Bermuda might not have been, you know, the way to go this for this tournament this week. Overall, Bermuda looks like that was probably a better stat to go with. But either way, course history and recent form still kind of, in my opinion, reign a little bit above the other stats. So now we'll get into swing stats, and this is your tee to green. It's all your strokes gained, green rag, proximity, that kind of stuff. So as I'm looking at this, again, the color scheme is the same. Dark green, top 20, light green, 20 to 40, and so on. Herman, not very good, tee to green. In fact, when you look at the top 20 stats, the column over here, he has 0 stats where he's actually inside the top 20 of. The only reason that my model would have gotten on him was because he was a last year bucket 1, which means he didn't play. So when we look at his stats, we're not going to see anything remarkable. I mean, we kind of already see a lot of bad stats. I believe tee to green was a stat I was looking at quite a bit. It wouldn't have gotten me on anyone like Jim Herman or Denny McCarthy. But I mean, if you look at the rest of these guys here, pretty decent. Like I did like Russell Henley. I didn't like his bucket score. You know, anyone that was in this dark green color, I'll say I didn't like them if they're in the light red. You know, if they were colored light red because of the last year bucket score. But anything that was positive was something I was looking at. So obviously we see quite a bit of golfers here that were positive. Let's count. So there's 9 golfers that have positive tee to green. 5 of them were top 20. So, you know, you could start your lineups. I mean, like Harold Varner had better tee to green stats than Webb Simpson. I suppose in a way, I'm going to let you guys look at this. And then what I'm going to do here, let's go here. These are all the swing stats that I use. Yeah, that's fine. You can look, you know, over here. This is driving distance, driving accuracy, good drive percentage, bogey avoidance. Nothing, you know, none of these guys in the top 10 have any of the same stat, really. It's just kind of a mix and match. You want to go with one over the other, or, you know, I mean, like Jim Herman, great driving accuracy, not very good with distance. In fact, if you look at everyone in the top 10, only a few guys. You had Harold Varner III, Sung J M. I think Henley actually rounds out the top 10, right? Yeah, Russell Henley rounds out the top 10. Only 2 golfers have over 300 yards average driving distance. So the Wyndham Championship or Sedgefield Country Club doesn't really give way to bombers. It's definitely more of a, I don't even want to say accuracy, because I mean we have a couple guys up here that have just terrible driving accuracy that played well. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know which one we would want to go with. I guess there isn't. You don't have to go with one or the other. I think it would be fool's gold to try to find something like that. But you know, a lot of people were talking about driving accuracy coming into this tournament. Well, Jim Herman's actually top 20 in driving accuracy. There's a bunch of guys up here that are top 20 driving accuracy that you probably wouldn't play. I mean, like you have Herman at 6,100, Duncan at 6,500, and Chris Baker at 6,200. This rounds off your top 20. So yeah, Baker would be a pretty decent choice. Think if you played Baker and Herman together, like you'd be able to play a lot of golfers. So if you did, let's say we wanted Webb and Patrick Reed on the same team, we would have 2,500 left over to use for those 4 golfers. Not 25, 15. Sorry, 15,000. So what can we do? Siwoo and someone that's 7,200. I mean, you go Zach Johnson. Okay, just wanted to look at that, but I suppose what I should do is kind of go over if I were to use top 20 for all these stats. So we do top 20 tee to green and look at all these golfers. You can see what the results were. You know, we had 7 golfers inside the top 20 off the tee. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 for off the tee. Approach, for those that think approach really mattered at this course, didn't seem like it. Only 4 inside the top 20 that were top 20 of that stat. Approach around the green, I'm sorry. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So again, like tee to green, there were 6 golfers inside the top 20 for the top 20 of that stat. Looks like tee to green still was one of the better ones. But now we come to putting, and we have 7 golfers. So putting was a better stat this week than tee to green, which is kind of insane. No one ever touts putting stats. Don't ever go by putting stats. But this week would have helped you a little bit. Green and reg, we see 4. That's not a big deal. But the 4 that we do see are top 10 golfers. Proximity, 3. And the 3 we see are top 10. Birdie or better. This was a stat that I kind of thought was important. Your top guy, Webb. I played a lot of Webb. Patrick Reed, Sung J M, Denny McCarthy, Sam Burns. I played a lot of Burns too. I really liked Sam Burns this week. I did like Sung Jae and I liked Webb Simpson. I played a little bit of Patrick Reed, but not a lot. It was pretty decent. Driving distance didn't really matter. You see 3 inside the top 10. I'm going to go ahead and hide this column. That way we can get to the rest of these. Driving accuracy. 1, 2, 3, 4. So only 4 inside the top 20 driving accuracy found the top 20 at this tournament. Good drive percentage, same thing as with 4. And we can scroll over and look at bogey avoidance. We have 5. And I would say when I was going through this, you guys should have been paying attention to how many missed cuts there were as well. I really wasn't. Missed cuts would have been the 85. But I'm more or less looking for, top 20 finishes. That way you kind of maximize your player potential or your lineup potential, and just trying to find a core of golfers that have these stats. Other than that, I guess the last thing that I want to go by to show you guys is kind of reviewing the sweet spot number. So basically what I do, first of all, the sweet spot actual percentage is in this column here. So my most owned guy was Webb Simpson, and it told me to play him in 23 lineups out of 100. I ended up playing around like 96 lineups to be exact. 75%. I kind of went an all-in approach this week, so 75% was Webb Simpson, but the sweet spot percentage tells me to play him in 23. In a way, I kind of wish I would have listened. The next guy was Sergio. I did like Sergio this week, and I thought a little bit with him having to do well in order to make the playoffs would have played a kind of a factor. It really didn't. But he just had a bad weekend, essentially. He had a bad Friday. He was also playing in a bad group, which I guess I really didn't see that being a huge case. I mean, this color here in red determines, like, that means I like that golfer, but I don't like the group he's in. And he was playing with JT Poston and Brandt Snedeker. Poston ended up missing the cut. Snedeker finished 42nd. Like, I didn't like that group whatsoever, and I think it kind of held Sergio back. But either way, 66, I didn't trust Spieth. This number came out. I didn't like it whatsoever. I don't trust Spieth. Harris English, I did play quite a bit of. Here's where it kind of gets a little dicey. Like, Nick Watney at $6,400. That, in my head, should have been alarming. I actually played him in a lot of lineups. He was one of my core golfers. Missed the cut by 2. Really couldn't do anything on Friday. Thursday, he was 2 under. And then shot a 1 over round on Friday. So it kind of stunk. But the sweet spot number altogether doesn't look like it produced all that great of results. Like, that's a bit too many 8 missed cuts or withdraws in comparison to 3 top 10s. I mean, I would say top 20s is that's what I'm looking for. But yeah, the sweet spot number has a lot to do with ownership, not ownership, but with the bucket score as well as the stats that I kind of provided that I liked. And I would say my stats that I used: 2020 grass stats, tee to green, and recent form. So really probably should have incorporated course history into it as well, although I don't know if that would have changed much of this, honestly. So yeah, the sweet spot number didn't really work out. I then manually modified them based off of who I liked and I didn't. So obviously I didn't play a lot of Jordan Spieth. A lot of my ownership kind of moved towards Sergio and Webb. Did like Harris English, and I kept a lot of these the same. Played a lot more Chesson Hadley. I thought it was a great play after Friday's round. Like, he was 8 under, and he just the weekend never got it going. So not good. Pat Perez ended up withdrawing for some reason. He looked like he was doing well heading into it looked like, I mean, he withdrew on Friday. That I think he was around the cut line before he withdrew, but either way, something was bothering, obviously. I didn't play any Russell Knox, and I'm kind of glad I didn't. I just could not trust that. Kept Johnny Vegas there. Here, like, these are good fades that I had. So the system produced that. I ended up playing that because I just didn't want to get sunk by any of these golfers. They're not good. So that's why I didn't play them. So all in all, kind of disappointing. I'm gonna have to redo this model for next year. Try to find better stats to follow than what I did. Kind of just trying to look to see if I can see anything with these 4 golfers that would stand out, but I really don't. So anyways, yeah, that's the last thing I wanted to talk about. Go over the model. It didn't do that great this year, or well, for this tournament. Next year we'll have to revamp it and see if we can do better. But yeah, I'm gonna leave that at, 26 minutes is pretty good considering these videos usually go a little bit longer. But hopefully you guys did well, and I will see you during the preview video for the Northern Trust. I think it's just called the Northern Trust. I'll see you then. All right, bye.